Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting review here on the Radio Horror YouTube channel. This time we're looking at the new chapter of Universal's rebooted monster franchise. Is it part of the Dark Universe? Not quite sure yet, but it was a damn good movie. Directed by Leigh Whannell, we have The Invisible Man, and joining us to talk about The Invisible Man is Cati the Blonde in front of fear.
Well, hello, freaks and fiends. Yes, this is The Invisible Man, directed by Leigh Whannell, starring Elizabeth Moss, Aldous Hodge, Oliver Jackson Cohen, and Storm Reed. This film starts out with waves crashing on rocks. And for me, that signified it's almost like they were trying to overcompensate one of your senses, kind of like foreshadowing that you were going to be missing one with the invisibility of the man, because the sound in this is intense, and that is where the intensity starts. It does not stop throughout the film. This gets your heart pumping, and let me tell you why. Moss plays Cecilia, a woman who is trying to get away from her significant other. She does. It is scary, it is jolting, and she is in hiding at a friend's house. Her significant other is trying to reach out to her, and then she finds out that he dies. Now, many, uh, I can see some people being confused regarding some of the stuff going on in the film, because with abuse, a lot of times you don't see it. It can be subtle, it can be violent, it can be every single day, and that can crush you. And one of the things I like about this film, or not like about this film, but is that it shows what Cecilia is going through without having to show give examples of, her physical abuse and stuff, because uh her significant other, Adrian, kind of made her disappear from the world and also herself. Now, once Adrian, the significant other, dies, he leaves her money. She thinks she's okay. And that's when the scary stuff starts to happen. That's where the Invisible Man starts to happen. People get punched and they blame it on Cecilia. People possibly get killed and they blame it on Cecilia. Emails get sent and they blame it on her. This this is a very well done film. It is not your grandfather's Universal monster, but it is a monster felt universally for anyone who's dealing with people who are narcissists and making their significant others, experience this physical, emotional abuse and anguish. There is a scene that will be a punch to your gut, that something I like to call a shock and pause, where something significant happens that is very brutal that they just let you sit on. I like that it's not a jump scare, but is definitely a shock and pause moment. Now, is this film perfect? No. There are definitely some there are definitely some parts that could have been better. There's a scene where someone gets their arm like slit with a pen, like down a good 4 to 5 inches. And if it didn't hit an artery or a vein, that's fine. But there's definitely some blood that would have been coming out that would have been significant, and that didn't show that. However, this is by far Winnell's film and Elizabeth Moss's film. Again, she plays broken beautifully. Winnell, there are definitely scenes that are almost his signature trait, where the woman who plays Emily, who is Cecilia's sister, there's a scene in a restaurant that this whole restaurant scene is just very Winnell, with the dialogue and everything that he does, which is something that I like to see. I recommend seeing this film so very much. Spoiler: the dog survives, which is again another reason why I like this film a lot. It came out February 28th, and I highly recommend it. I say go see it, and right now it is one of my favorites of the year.
Were you a big fan of the original Invisible Man with Claude Rains?
Yeah, actually, the special effects in that were quite amazing from the time, because that was what, 1933. They did some really advanced work on that.
I remember the movie with Kevin Bacon, Hollow Man, where he is a creepy, perverted, killing rapist. And, of course, the more lighthearted Invisible Man from the 80s, starring Chevy Chase, where he's I think, a scientist that spies are trying, a spy played by Sam Neill is trying to get his Invisible Man formula.
he goes into a lab that becomes invisible. And yes, Memoirs of Invisible Man, that was directed by, I believe, John Carpenter. That was an interesting one. And like Hollow Man, when these people are invisible, you get to see like all the digestion and everything in that. I think it was interesting that with both those movies, the Invisible Man, Chevy Chase didn't so much, although he did kind of lose his mind a little bit, not so much as Kevin Bacon and Hollow Man. Chevy Chase kind of kept it together, but with this one, with Oliver Jackson Cohen, he was diabolical to begin with. I think with most of the Invisible Man, their invisibility is sort of like a Jekyll and Hyde, that once they take the magic formula, it changes them. But this didn't change him at all. He was already like pretty much a supreme dick, and this just made him so that no one could see him even more.
That's why if you're gonna be invisible, you can't be a man, because the only person who's ever been able to understand, what's the word I'm looking at? The only person who's been able to use their invisibility for the greatness of society and be able to, not go insane, of course, is Sue Storm of the Fantastic Four for the last 60 years. She's been always invisible with her powers, except for that one time her and Johnny switched powers and she became the Human Torch. But she never went insane. It takes a woman to do a man's job when it comes to invisibility.
Always and forever.
That's the one thing I've noticed is like, wait a minute, all these people who went invisible went nuts, but one of the founding members of the Fantastic Four has never gone nuts before. She holds that family together.
I don't know. I guess you can kind of say that one of the reasons why they go nuts is because, everything's invisible, including their eyelids. So they're never able to sleep. So that's going to make you go a little bit crazy.
The technology they used in this was not a formula this time. As I think almost every time, it's always a formula, or in Sue Storm's case, it was cosmic rays in outer space. This is a suit with like cameras all over it, which I thought was fascinating.
That I love the science in this. Yes, I thought that was great. But I also love that while you could say that Oliver Jackson Cohen, who plays Adrian, doesn't have any sort of power, they do say in the film that his superpower is getting in people's heads, and he's able to manipulate situations to his advantage, which, is a master gaslighter and narcissist. Again, I feel like this is taking a monster and putting it in modern times. And I think Leigh Whannell's direction and script is one of the best, and the way to do that.
We'll have to wait and see to find out if this is the continuation of more good Universal monster movies, because The Wolfman, Dracula Untold, and The Mummy were all flops. And this is the first success of these Universal monster reboots that Universal has had.
And maybe that's the thing. It's like taking a Universal monster and making them more universal to the people. We'll have to see. Again, one of my favorites. I say see it, and also get that soundtrack from Benjamin Wallfish, because it is intense and incredible.
Definitely. Thanks, everyone. Check out the rest of the videos here on the Radio Horror YouTube channel. And check out the movie at your local movie theater if you have a chance. It's definitely worth seeing in theaters, in a dark, dark theater. I saw it in an almost empty theater because it's been out for a couple weeks before I had a chance to go see it, because I was at PAX East. But I highly recommend it. And definitely watching it at home, make sure all the lights are off, because it's going to give on to that ambiance of just her staring at absolutely nothing, because the antagonist is invisible. Check out the rest of the videos on the Radio Horror YouTube channel, and check out Katie's page on Facebook, The Blonde in Front. Thanks, everyone.